Deck the halls with balls of Krampus. La 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 la. For when your child is out of chances. La 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 la. All you have to do is call him. Little Charlie's been a bad, bad boy. Father Krampus will consume him. Fa la 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 la. Fa la 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 la.
Hey, is that a bowl of candy?
Let's see where to begin. First off, we'll skip your brain because you're not sane. This world is not what it seems. There's a reason we hide.
Welcome to another episode of Hidden World, Supernatural Talk Radio with sense of humor, with your hosts Chris Carr and Clarissa Vasquez. Tonight we're talking to Corvis Nocturnum, aka Eric Benoit, and Kevin Eads, authors of Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus, which is just pretty awesome. So we're going Krampus Radio tonight. Stand by, enjoy your favorite libations and herbal remedies, whether that be absinthe over a sugar cube or maybe just a spot of tea with a little lemon. Stand by, we're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Hidden World Paranormal Talk Radio on the L&M Radio Network. I am one of your fabulous hosts. I'm Clarissa Vasquez. I can't get over that intro. Joining me this evening, as always, is my ever faithful, always dusty but never rusty sidekick, Mr. Chris Carr.
Hey. Thank you.
So-
I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Big news, though, Chris.
Do
Big
tell.
big news. Big,
Oh.
huge.
I like big news.
You like big news?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm excited.
You should be, because somebody, I'm not going to mention any names, somebody has a birthday coming up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Ozzy Osbourne. True story. True fact. It's
You
Ozzy's
share
birthday.
you share a
December 3rd.
birthday with Ozzy.
Mm-hmm. I do.
That is awesome.
Little known weird fact about me. Yes, I share a birthday with Ozzy Osbourne, my childhood hero. It's true.
That's awesome. Well, I have a confession to make. We at the network, we've got something for your birthday.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Yeah. Katie, let's roll the birthday. Let's roll the birthday.
Once a year we celebrate with stupid hats and plastic plates. The fact that you were able to make another trip around the sun. And the whole clan gathers round and gifts and laughter do abound. And we let out a joyful sound and sing that stupid song. Happy birthday, now you're 1 year older. Happy birthday, your life still isn't over. Happy birthday, you did not accomplish much, but you didn't die this year, I guess that's good enough.
You're back.
So let's drink to your fading health and hope you don't remind yourself your chance of finding fame and wealth decrease with every year. Does it feel like you're doing laps and eating food and taking naps and hoping that someday perhaps your life will hold some cheer? Happy birthday! What have you done that matters? Happy birthday! You're starting to get fatter. Happy birthday! It's downhill from now on. Try not to remind yourself your best years are all gone.
If cryogenics were all free, then you could live like Walt Disney and live for all eternity inside a block of ice. But instead your time is set, this is the only life you get. And though it hasn't ended yet, sometimes you wish it might. Happy birthday! You wish you had more money. Happy birthday! Your life's so sad it's funny. Happy birthday! How much more can you take? But your friends are hungry, so just cut the stupid cake. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, dear Ralph, Phil, Bramden, Stanley, Dipper, Skippy the bush kangaroo.
Starts with when the weather is nice.
So happy birthday.
Thank
early.
you.
A
That
day
was
early.
awesome.
I'm glad you like that.
That was really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they're not as fun anymore. I hate to say it, but
No, they're
know,
not.
I do appreciate it. I like that, people think of me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to. Yeah,
Sure.
and you do have one more. You do have one more birthday treat coming, but I'll save it for later.
Right on.
So
Oh,
since your electronic devices are malfunctioning this evening,
yeah.
yeah,
That's not a news story, but
I was gonna make you multitask tonight, and and send you one more birthday treat while we were on the air, but I guess I'm not gonna now.
Right on. All right. Well, I'm open to whatever you get to throw at me. So thank you very much. And yeah, it's kind of cool.
We won't say
Now
how
that you're
old you
gone
are
and I'm
on
not
the air,
dead
though.
yet.
Yeah,
Right
that's
on.
right. Well, just like the song says, you're still not dead. So
No, another time around the sun.
yep.
Cool. We did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe says I'm 390 years old. Waha. You gotta remove the zero, Joe. 39 forever.
39. Yes, you're
Mhm.
39. Wait, that makes
I
you younger
stopped
than
right
me.
then. I just time stopped and that's it. No
Oh.
different than I was when I was 39. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what else is going on? We got a pretty exciting show tonight.
We do
I
have
know
a
I'm
really
jazzed.
exciting show. Yeah. And we're going to have Corvis Nocturnum back on the show. We're going to be talking about his new book, Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus.
Ooh.
And we're also going to be talking to his co-author of that book, Kevin Eads. And so when we come back from break here in about 20 minutes or so, we'll be talking to them. But in the meantime, we do need to give a shout out to our affiliates. So if you're not listening to us via lnmradionetwork.com, you can also catch us at High Point Radio, 1620 AM and 100.5 FM out of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. WCET 101.7 out of Columbia, South Carolina. KOY 1230 out of Phoenix, Arizona. KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. You can also stream us live on Daily Motion, TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Twitch, iTunes, and you can catch the archives of Hidden World on YouTube. So that's
Right
how you
on.
Yep, that's how you can find us. And yeah, I'm excited for tonight. I know you are super excited for tonight.
Always.
I mean, the
I
last
love
time
that we have Corvis on here. I'm kind of a Corvis fan, so. this
Yeah,
is
well, the
me,
last time we
and
had
Kevin
Corvis on
seems
the
like a
show,
great
you
guy.
were
Yeah.
the last time we had Corvis on the show, you were fangirling.
I was totally fangirling. I should have had like pom-poms. It was ridiculous.
And the skirt.
Yeah, everything went south, but yeah. Show
If-
crashed. I overdid it. And
Yeah.
Talking over everyone. Tonight will go much better if you're a fan of Corvis and you're tuning in for the first time tonight. I hope you're in for a treat. This is a supernatural, paranormal talk show, and we have kind of a sense of humor. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of supernatural and paranormal, let's go back a few weeks to the show that we did on, you guessed it, spectrophilia.
we just cannot get away
from banging the dead. What is up with that?
We can't. I keep telling you, it's like a boil on your butt. It just won't go away.
You have
But
boils on your butt?
No, I do not. I said it's like a boil on your butt.
On my butt. I got
On
balls
your
my
butt.
I have to check. Maybe.
You're the one that's having a birthday tomorrow, and we won't say how old you are, but
No, please don't. I'm so ashamed. Isn't that weird? Like how, like you're always happy when you're a kid to have a birthday. It's like, ooh, I get gifts, and you're not ashamed. And then you get old and you're like, no, it's really not my birthday.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, sucks.
So a few weeks ago, we did that big show on spectrophilia.
Mm-hmm. With
And
Seraphine Hurley.
With Seraphine Hurley. And great guest, fabulous person. Seraphine is awesome. And I stumbled across an article about a woman in Australia. And her name is Amethyst Realm.
Ooh, Amethyst Realm.
Yes.
It's fancy.
I know. I don't know if her parents named her that or if she named herself that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, you never know. You never know. Parents nowadays are being a little more non-traditional,
right?
yeah, with the naming of their children.
At least they picked the pretty rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. And this woman, Miss Realm, is apparently engaged to a ghost that likes to fly with her on airplanes. And they on an airplane have joined the Mile High Club. And she,
wow.
Yeah, and supposedly they are now engaged. And quote, she wants to soon after start popping out babies, and she is unclear if the babies will be spiritual or physical.
Yeah. Well, if they're physical, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's like Twilight level.
Sure.
Stuff.
How does your hereditary, DNA.com come back with that?
Right.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. You and I have a conversation recently about ethereal jizz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've had a few, actually.
I think we've had a couple of conversations about that.
That's what we do, like in our spare time. I talking about ethereal jizz, aka ectoplasm. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any hobbies? Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got a message from Jax, my co-host on Periscope Uncensored, which is live on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Studio B here on the network.
Ding, ding,
and yeah, ding, ding, ding. We came up with an alternative to the bell, didn't we? Oh, yes, we did, but I can't say what it is on the air. Never mind. I just remembered what the bell alternative was. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no more bell.
What we need here is more cowbell.
More cowbell. That's right. Gotta have more cowbell, babies. But Jax is having babies, really? How does that even work? I don't know.
Well, there's a story about the birds and the bees.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really fit. So,
when a ghost and a human really love each other.
A stork flies by.
And an angel gets his wings.
Right. Does anybody even tell the stork story anymore?
I have no idea.
New parents, parents say in their 20s, young families, are they telling a stork story? Or is that only red states?
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder how many children go about life thinking that they came from the Cabbage Patch still.
Ooh. The Cabbage Patch.
Yeah.
Like a little surprise.
Yeah.
A surprise out in the garden. Oh, look, there's some tomatoes, some blueberries, and a baby. Oh, my gosh. You plant those baby seeds.
No, I mean, unlike me, I was found under a rock. So.
I think I was left in a cave discovered by archaeologists.
Really?
Something like, I don't know, 666 years later. I don't know.
I had someone ask me once, it was around Mother's Day, and I had mentioned, that I needed to find a gift, for my mom for Mother's Day. And this little old woman, she comes up to me and she goes, "You have a mother?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh, all this time I thought you were hatched." Really?
Well, that's a pleasant hello, right?
I know. This little old lady. She used to work
love
for me.
creative people.
Yeah. All this time I thought you were hatched. Now, for your information, I was found under a rock, but I still have a mother. Thank you.
You were not found under a rock, for God's sakes.
Well, that
God.
It depends.
God's
It depends on who you ask. My dad still swears I came from the milkman.
Right.
No,
You're
seriously.
dropped off in the little metal box. We're gonna date ourselves here.
Yeah, I know.
Those
Again.
metal boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the ceramic milk jars.
Yeah. They're wonderful. Or glass.
Yeah, or glass. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dating
I'm
ourselves again.
150. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now we know how old Chris is.
Oh man.
He'll be
Losing all my
91 tomorrow.
groupies.
All your groupies. Why are they dying off?
Yeah. Right. Oh man.
I got to be careful though, because I have a birthday coming up in a couple of months, and revenge can be sweet, or so I'm told.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know it.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh, let's see another message from Jax.
He says milk is still delivered that way, but he lives out like in a rural area, I think, doesn't he? Because Middleborough's pretty rural.
I don't know.
They may have milkmen and Model T Fords. I have no idea. Horse-drawn carriage.
Milkmen and Model Ts and
Right.
party
Line the
line
car up.
telephones. Rotary telephones. That's what it. Rotary telephones. Or
Coming soon, Tesla.
do they even have telephones out there?
Carrier pigeons. Who knows?
Oh yeah, carrier pigeon. Pony Express.
What did they call those carrier pigeons in Game of Thrones? Didn't they have a name for that? Was it just pigeon or something? Oh no, Raven. Send a Raven.
Send a Raven. Yes.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm a little excited about Game of Thrones next year, 2019. Even though it's only a few episodes. Pretty cool series. I'm sure some of our listeners enjoy it as well. So yeah, send a Raven if you like us. Hidden World. You can find us at www.cccv.books.weebly.com.
Not .books. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I screwed it up, didn't I? God damn it.
Are you wanting them to email us? Is that what you're wanting them to do?
I want them to send a Raven.
Send a Raven. Okay, so send a Raven to cccvbooks@yahoo.com.
There you go.
That's our email.
That's our Raven mail.
Yes, our Raven mail. Or if you've got like super high technology out there, you can find us through Facebook, which is facebook.com/cccvbooks. And if you don't know what all the C's and the V stands for, that's Chris Carr and Clarissa Vasquez. So, really easy. CCCV.
Correct. Yeah, it took me like 3 months to figure that out. So the listeners are probably more ahead of the game.
Oh, Jax says they have telephones out in Middleborough.
Oh, telephones.
They're moving up in the world.
Right on.
Yeah.
Middleborough's actually a nice town. But that is cool that milkmen still get around.
Yeah.
And get around, I bet they do.
I'll bet they do. Well, like I said, if you ask my dad, and to this day, my dad will still tell you that I came from the milkman.
Uh-huh.
He does. Yeah, I'll call him up. Dad, not me. Find the milkman. or if I say, I got this trait from my dad, like my sense of humor. If I were to say I got my sense of humor from my dad, my dad would say, that milkman must have been one funny son of a gun.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it is a hidden world, Clarissa.
I know. Well, and my dad has 5 children. He has 5 biological children. And then there's 4 more that are not biological that we don't talk about. But he has 5 biological children. And so I came from the milkman, and one came.
Story, a lovely lady.
Right? Only instead of 6 children, there were 9 of us.
Right, right. And
yeah.
once again, I managed to date ourselves.
I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you brought up the Brady Bunch.
Wow. I am just swing, miss.
So
unbelievable. Brady Bunch,
Chris,
really?
Yeah. Do we
really,
need to have
guys?
the Alzheimer's slot, Chris?
On the week that the creator of SpongeBob died.
No.
Did you hear that story?
I did not hear about
He had
that.
ALS. He passed away. He was only 57, I think.
I had no idea.
I know. So sad.
Well, and we also lost a former leader of our nation a couple days ago.
Yeah. Mr. George Bush Sr.
Yeah, Daddy Bush.
Who probably will not be buried in a pineapple under the sea.
No, probably not. I don't know. But, as soon as I found out, I messaged you and I said, I'm going on record right now as saying, now that he is gone, I am willing to bet that the details of the CIA's involvement in the Kennedy assassination start coming to light.
Right.
Because
I think you're spot on.
I think the reason all of that remained classified and was reclassified over and over and over again was to
things missing and white it out. And
right. Well, and stuff, Freedom of Information Act and everything, stuff was becoming declassified, but there were certain aspects that they were reclassifying. And I think now that Daddy Bush is gone, all of that stuff is going to be going to be revealed and declassified, et cetera, because I think that they were protecting the reputation of a former president, not the reputation of, the former head of the CIA, which he was at the time.
Correct.
He was the head of the CIA at the time that President Kennedy was assassinated. But I think, since he did serve one term as a president, I think they were, doing it to protect his reputation and et cetera, et cetera. And, my son and I have discussed this in depth, at great length on several occasions. And I called my son yesterday morning and I said, get ready. Kennedy assassination stuff is about to become declassified. And he goes, really? Why? I'm like, because Daddy Bush kicked. And he goes, really? He did finally? I'm like, yeah, he did.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, you're a little too excited. You're a little too excited about that, son. But yes. And
yeah, well, he was an interesting guy, being head of CIA. He pulled off Desert Storm, quite brilliantly, really. And as you know, I'm a left-leaning person, but
yep, as am I.
I don't detest the senior.
I don't
Junior. I have more to say about, but senior, I don't know.
Well, you and I have had the conversation, about how much I used to loathe Junior. But it wasn't until 45. I've made this comment to you in the past, never in my life did I ever think that I would become nostalgic for W.
Right. I know. It's really been something.
Yep.
I know not all our co-shows necessarily adhere to that same notion that we do. So I'll let it go, and we're not a political show anyway.
No, we're not a political show. We are paranormal and supernatural.
And common sense.
Yes. Lots of common sense. Unless we've
politics.
been drinking. Unless we've been drinking, in which case common sense goes right out the door, and you guys
right out the damn window.
Yeah, you guys get me to swear on the air.
Ding ding ding. P word with 5 letters that is not Python.
That's right. And Python is 6 letters. I keep telling you.
Oh, damn it. Right. I've tripped myself up twice with that, or 3 times maybe.
I don't know. I've lost count.
That's because I'm drinking. A
Ah,
libation.
Ooh. And what are you drinking tonight, Chris?
Tonight, I am drinking a Wachusett ale. Wachusett, Mass is right near me where I moved to. This is called Mass Soul. Yeah. I'll show you the can because it is kind of funny. Our listeners can't see that.
Mass
You see the little dude?
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
He's like looking all gangster.
That looks
Mass
kind of
Soul.
like the Korean dictator
say
there.
Say it 3 times fast.
Well, it sounds like mass hole,
It's, yeah.
which is what,
Look who's on the can.
That's what I said. It looks kind of like the Korean dictator.
Kind of like a mass hole, right?
Yeah, well, it looks like a cross between the Korean dictator and
Kim Jong-un.
and
it isn't. He looks more Irish.
and Dave Butterworth.
I was pretty sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It looks like a cross between the Korean dictator and Dave Butterworth.
Oh, poor Dave.
That's what it looks like. I'm sorry.
He's probably at work. Dave works like 23 hours a day.
Maybe it's pareidolia. Maybe that's not really what I'm seeing.
It could be.
I mean, you are showing.
Dave is a friend of ours, by the way, who's on ECCPI, the East Coast Coalition of Paranormal
Investigators.
No, I said that wrong on purpose. I was just messing with you. I know what it is. And
yeah, well, I know.
Yeah, he works a lot, and he really doesn't like his job. I think Dave needs a new car and a new job. His life would be way different, but
definitely.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there.
His ECCPI co-founder is listening, and so you could get spanked for that faux pas.
I know. I did it kind of on purpose there.
Oh, okay.
This is a funny show. Paranormal.
It is a funny show. But on that note, we have to go to break. So when we come back, we're going to have Corvis Nocturnum and Kevin Eads on the line with us. We're going to be talking about Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus. So stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Hidden World Paranormal Talk Radio on the L&M Radio Network. We will be right back. Welcome back to Hidden World Paranormal Talk Radio on the L&M Radio Network. We're having a little trouble here. We're having some technical difficulties. I have been trying to add Corvis to the call, and our other caller hasn't been, or Kevin hasn't been added yet. I'm not sure why. I'm still trying to get Corvis added, but hopefully. Oh, I think we may have Corvis here in just a second.
Hello.
And we've got Kevin on the line. Yay!
We got them both.
And
Fantastic.
we got them both. Yay! No more technical difficulties. Awesome.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Good evening. So, welcome to Hidden World Paranormal Radio. Corvis, you've been on the show before, and welcome back, my friend. It's good to have you again.
Thank you.
And Kevin, welcome to the show. I don't know how much they've told you in advance about how wild and crazy this show is, but I hope.
No, I'm a virgin, so be gentle.
Oh, I hope you're wearing.
Just kidding. Just for the show.
Are you wearing a seatbelt, my friend?
No.
Oh.
And lots of lube.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wearing pants, so that's about as good as we get.
Oh no!
Sometimes pants is your only defense.
You need Crisco and a seatbelt, my friend.
Okay.
Welcome, guys.
So you guys have a new book coming out. Kevin, why don't you tell us about the book?
Well, we're Eric and I have been working on a book on Krampus and the non-traditional aspects of Christmas. Basically, there's been in the past few years a real growing interest in Krampus and such. So we thought we would, look at some of the background of Christmas, some of the things that, come into the holiday that are people wouldn't believe where it actually came from, the time before Christ and such, the Christmas trees in the house during the winter solstice and things of that nature. We're just going to look at all the non-traditional aspects of Christmas, but Krampus was the first and foremost because, as Eric knows, I put together some holiday horror stories over the years with Krampus as our main friend, and we thought we would just do something nonfiction, kind of explaining the history and folklore behind it.
Awesome. Well, we like Krampus here.
Yes, we do.
The L&M radio networks.
He's cute and cuddly and furry, and good time.
That's the way I like him.
For maybe our
that's what I
uninformed
heard.
listeners, do you want to tell the tale of Krampus and what he's about bad kids?
I didn't quite hear. Was that for Eric or?
That's for both of you.
Okay, Eric, go ahead.
Well, I've always looked at it as, Santa Claus is the person who rewards the good children. I guess you could say, and Krampus is his, alter ego kind of doppelganger, the carrot and the stick, so to speak. One makes children behave, the other one punishes them for being wicked. Kind of a cautionary tale, more than anything.
You got to have opposites, right? I mean, there is no pleasure without pain.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
No Santa.
Somebody got excited there.
Well, jingle my bells. So,
I mean, it goes back just centuries. Mostly Austria, Germany, Hungary, some parts of the Czech Republic have celebrated Krampus Night, which traditionally is celebrated on December the 5th. It's the eve of St. Nicholas Day in Austria and other parts of Europe. I mean, they have festivals. Some of that is spread over here into the United States. There's certain, events going on even in Michigan right now. People are celebrating, non-traditional Christmas, from other parts of the world. And
sounds
I think
like someone's chasing a Krampus right there.
yes.
So I live across the street from a what do you call it? A fire department. I'm sorry about that.
For a minute, I thought they were coming to get me. They were going to hose me down or something.
All right, I got nervous.
I probably belong in a white padded cell. Ask Eric. He'll probably tell you that.
That's awesome. So what are the did it begin in Austria or Germany? Like, when did the Krampus legend begin? Do we know? Is it?
Well, that's before those countries really existed. It was just the Alpine region in general. Back centuries ago, you just had the tribes and such. There were. It's not Germany as it is today didn't really exist until the past, I believe, 200 or 300 years, and a lot of the other countries didn't as well. So it just really originated in the Alpine regions of Europe. About thousands of, at least over 1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to pin it down. I mean, we can only base it off of the cultural knowledge of where regions are today. Like Kevin said, the Alpine area. I mean, the geography hasn't changed a whole lot, but what we term as the boundaries and borders, has. So that's why it's popular in these different regions. I do know that even up to World War I and II, Krampus was celebrated, and then all of a sudden, when the Nazis took power, they kind of helped dismantle the Krampus festival because of the whole idea of the wicked being punished. I don't think they really cared for that. Because
they were the wicked themselves. So,
yeah, the way the world saw them as the enemy. So and then it came back again. Pre-Germanic pagan character, as Krampus in the Krampus Nocturnum tradition of frightening children in these street festivals. It was as some people would say, a booze-filled holiday romp of revelry. They would even have people dressed up. You'll see a lot of videos on it. Some of them are posted on Facebook. There's a bunch on YouTube. People dress up in these giant furry costumes, where they use whatever materials are handy, just like they did in the old days. But there's some really incredible ones if you do a Google search on Krampus festivals. Um, people creating very realistic costumes, and they have giant uh, chains carrying switches, basically thorny branches over one shoulder in a giant bag, or wicker baskets even was very prevalent during this time period. And they would stuff the naughty little children in these bags and beat them with the sticks and thorny brushes. They would take them back to um, their home, wherever that might be, into the mountains, and punish them. Whereas
like put them in the oven.
Well, kind of like that. I'm pretty sure that it's these very same regions that the Grimm's brothers created their horrid tales, and they weren't so nice
Right. I
as
do
we
see a
grew up
correlation
knowing
there.
them.
Sure.
So there was a lot of similarities, and I think part of that stems from the idea that old Europe, and Kevin knows a lot about this, old Europe was very big on being brutal, harsh, the physical conditions of the area, the harshness of the winters, the way people had to survive. There wasn't this whole PC modern, be sensitive to people's feelings. There were no safe spaces. It was all about, children
Yeah,
are
there were
bad
probably
and
no
they get
safe
to speak
spaces.
for it.
Yeah, and
So,
it was a very difficult time to live. I mean, just imagine. Plus, they didn't have the understanding of, what we do about, the sun and the moon and astronomy and things of this nature. They had a lot of superstition, and as Eric says, living conditions were very harsh. You didn't know if you were going to make it through the winter, if you were going to have enough food to survive. It was a difficult time.
And you didn't have time for like a spoiled kid.
Yeah.
Where like religion was created to control the masses, maybe Krampus was created to control those damn kids.
Definitely. I honestly believe that is the primary focus. It's the whole carrot and the stick. Santa gave, to the good, and, the naughty had to be punished somehow.
Right. And a lot of it, again, it wasn't always Santa. It's also, we consider Santa St. Nicholas, but you have St. Nicholas Day, as Eric said earlier, in Europe. It's very popular. And sometimes here in the U.S., where they'll have their shoes out or wooden shoes, and St. Nicholas will leave something, candy or something else. But Krampus, you might be his candy,
Right. I bet a lot of those kids deserved it.
The name itself is a German word. Its root is Krampen, meaning claw, and that in itself is a direct tie to the satyrs and the fauns in Greek mythology. Traits. The horns of these creatures, and that's why Krampus has horns. Being in modern times we call him the Christmas devil, but they really didn't have devils per se as we know them. That was a Christian concept, and these things date way back to the Norse gods and the Germanic tribes that later infiltrated down into the rest of Germany through the Alps. So like everything, things do evolve, they change, but Krampus is one of the few things that because it died out for such a long period of time in the minds of the world, and then was brought back, I think had a lot to do with the fact that it hasn't changed that much.
Right. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I'm trying really hard. I'm trying really hard not to take this whole thing.
Me something ridiculous. I'm like staring at it. Go ahead, Clarissa.
No, I'm trying really hard not to take this whole thing into the gutter and say, he was like this, this hairy, horny Punisher. He's gonna go spank you and beat you with a stick and everything. I'm struggling.
Well,
with
some of the
this.
pictures, some of the Christmas Krampus cards they sent, you would see Krampus staring over at a blissomly woman, with
even better,
looking at her like yummy, So I can see where you would have those thoughts in a way, because in a way they almost kind of hinted at that in some of those Krampus cards. It appears.
Well, I mean,
wouldn't you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, if he's based a little bit off of the other mythological horned creatures, the joke of the word "someone's horny," did come from the satyrs, fauns, and Pan, and the other, creatures talking about, um, that sort of uh, non-saintly Kris Kringle. So,
Right.
when
Someone
he's
else's
punishing the
stocking,
wicked,
maybe it was getting filled that night.
yeah,
Thank you.
it's hard to say. It's like, he can be naughty and lecherous, and there's booze with Krampus Nacht, but it's very pointed to the fact that that's an adult thing, and the kids that are naughty need to behave. I think it's a separation of
The adults enjoy the punishment, the kids do not.
right.
It's a
I
creation
think
of
I have a
adult
new
time.
favorite holiday.
Right?
Adults get the revelry, and the children get punished if they step out of line. Is basically
right.
how I see
Go
it.
to bed.
Yeah.
I have things to do.
Yeah.
You will be eaten if you get out of bed and disturb us.
Oh,
That's
wait,
a
are
way
you
to keep them from
talking to
seeing
the
anything. Yeah.
Right.
You
That's
know?
awesome. And I didn't know that about the
Go to bed.
the origins of horny.
I have
That's
to go and get
really
my
cool.
drink on and get spanked with a stick. Come on.
They do have Krampus groups. I know I joined one of them on Facebook, although I haven't actually gone to one of the events. They do hold events locally, and they do the dress up as Krampus.
It's been growing too, yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Really cool stuff. I've seen some great video on there.
I mean, Eric, how many cities now would you say are having Krampus events? I mean, it's growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, it's hard to pin down. I mean, if you did a Google search and spent enough time, I mean, we could probably list it. I just don't want to delay the book by being that nitpicky on, exactly where. I can tell you what countries that he's made a resurgence. I know that Austria, for sure, has made a giant move towards commercializing and selling chocolates, figurines, and then, some people are complaining about it, saying, well, it shouldn't be commercialized like everything else, blah, blah. It takes away from, the purity of the
I'm sorry.
behind it. But look what we've done to Christmas in general, the regular traditional Christmas. So why shouldn't we commercialize, everything, but that is one of the points that I wanted to bring up. One of my first exposures heavily on Krampus was the movie that came out a few years ago, and the very opening of it, of the best movie. There's been several, but the best one was where the opening was playing these nice Christmas carols and the peace and love and all that we're accustomed to, like Bing Crosby, White Christmas or whatever was in the background. And then on the screen, however, was what looked like people at a Walmart fighting to the death over toys and beating each other up and ramming into each other. The things that happens right after
Black Friday.
We're all thankful during Thanksgiving, and then Black Friday happens.
Right.
So, it was a very pointed modern retelling of the tale. It reminded me very much of Tim Burton-ish feel, with a lot more sinister aspect to it. This whole family that everybody can identify to some degree with, this rotten modern family and how terrible they are to each other. And, then the one little kid says, I hate Christmas, sort of thing. And here comes Krampus, to punish everyone.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised Tim Burton hasn't done a Krampus Christmas movie.
Well,
Give him time. It's a possibility.
Right.
Right.
But as long as he can get a role for Helena Bonham Carter, it'll all be good, right? Because we know that she has to be in every one of his movies now.
Right.
Oh, I don't know.
Exactly.
They got the force, so.
She would be the one punished. So there you go. He's also showing up on a lot of TV shows. He's showing up on Supernatural, an episode of Grimm, and funnily enough, even on soap opera General Hospital. So, I mean, it's something that's hitting a lot more markets than you would probably believe when it comes to television and film.
I just watched
I think comic
the
books.
Supernatural episode with Krampus. I just watched that yesterday, actually. And yeah, it was
Supernatural. You
yeah.
like that show?
I like that show.
I've watched it since the beginning, so I'm not going to say anything bad.
Yeah, I am addicted. And yeah, so I agree that Krampus is gaining in popularity, especially over in Western culture. And I think as more and more people gain an appreciation for the macabre, that allows for, the older traditions such as Krampus to start making a comeback. And I think it's great. Like I said, what'd you say? December 5th is Krampus Day?
Yeah, Krampus Night.
Krampus Night, yep.
Krampus Night. My new favorite holiday. My new favorite holiday. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And that's what, Wednesday?
Right after Simon.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go make a special trip to that special shop really soon. So get ready.
Well, look at that. Like Halloween is the second most popular holiday, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yes.
People do
Probably.
like to get the creep on. They like this stuff. So I mean, there's totally a market for it, and I'm not surprised. Krampus is turning up on General Hospital, which I didn't even know was still on. So
yeah, it's been on for a while. They had a German doctor telling the children a story about Krampus to scare them, which was very funny. So yeah, there's all types of places it shows up. But then again, remember that at one time ghost stories were very popular to tell at Christmas time, and I hear that's going to be making a comeback as well.
Making a comeback. So. Yes, I've heard. Sure. I too have heard that telling ghost stories on Christmas Eve is making a comeback. And in fact, that is a tradition that is going to start in my house starting this year. Well, it's a little late because it's my son's last obligatory Christmas at home. But one of these years I'm going to have grandchildren, so Nana can tell ghost stories on Christmas Eve to the grandkids. So that'll be cool.
Absolutely,
that'll be good ones.
Well, there's a lot of old traditions. There's a lot of fun traditions, and a lot, coming from whatever country. My background was French. I grew up in a French American. My grandmother came from France, so we would get the folklore and the stories and the traditions from France. Like we used to open our gifts on Christmas Eve night. Christmas morning is nothing to us. It's Christmas Eve night. So there's a lot of different things that'll come from the culture, and a lot of America, especially Midwestern America, has a strong German presence. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of Krampus activities along the Midwest. I hear about like Buffalo, I guess, has got a big one, if I remember right, and a lot of other cities are starting to get into it. So, and the immigration patterns can probably play a bit into that.
What goes on at these Krampus festivals? Like, what is the draw besides the parade?
Well, there's a parade a lot of times.
Right. I've seen the parade
with the March of the Krampuses. Or
people, just seem like they're having a really good time. I guess that would be the draw, right?
Exactly. It's just one more night to celebrate.
Yeah,
especially I think it would be a great. I think it would be a great one for the bars, especially. I mean, I think it's a holiday that would involve a lot of drinking and a little craziness. So if a downtown area has bars, it would be a great draw for such an area. And I think that's a lot of where it's happening, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. It's kind of like a Fat Tuesday that you can spread around. You can pretty much have anywhere.
Yeah. And again, I think it's just going to continue to grow.
I love that idea. I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah, I'm totally in. I wonder if there's only 2 days. I don't think there's enough time for me to get a celebration in my little itty bitty podunk town, but I can certainly I can certainly celebrate on my own. I could get my drink on and
libations.
Libations. Yeah. And reflect on how naughty I've been throughout the year, I guess.
Someone's got to come by with a stick.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, get in the sack, girl.
I wish.
Sorry, my Skype was acting up. I had to download an update.
Skype?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
That's where he went.
Like every time
I thought he was looking for a switch.
There's some kind of issue.
Yeah, he was looking for a stick. But no, I think it's great, and I think that some of these older traditions, not just the Krampus traditions, but you know, uh, my heritage personally, I'm about 75% Scots Irish, and and a lot of my old Celtic traditions, from my ancestors are starting to make a comeback, which I am just ecstatic about. And so I think it's great that a lot of the old, um, if not ancient traditions are starting to come back. I think it's fantastic. And Krampus, being one of those, the creature, the legend, the myth, the tradition, the celebrations, it's fantastic. It's wonderful. I love it.
And I wonder how much of that, I'm just curious, and I have no proof because this is something that's just a question I'm asking. How much of it has come with, in recent years, we've seen a lot of like the DNA testing sites finding out about your heritage and your cultures and such. In the past 10 years, you've seen a lot of that spring up. And since then, you've seen a lot of these things happen as well. I don't know if it corresponds, but it could, people are learning about their heritage, their cultures, and sometimes want to learn a lot more about it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it hurt. I don't.
Yeah, connecting with your past.
I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but I certainly don't think that it hurt. People
Right.
finding out about their genetic heritage. My heritage was discovered genealogically. I haven't had the DNA test done. I went and
Right.
actually did it the hard way. And went and traced my ancestry through birth and death records. And I'm really excited about that, to learn just how Irish I really am.
Well, with our French, it turned out that it was because my family was from Normandy and Brittany, it tends to be Viking and Celtic because Normandy was settled by Vikings and Brittany was a Celtic land, So just because it's France, it doesn't mean it's the traditional French either. So there's a lot of different cultures all through the different countries.
Right.
Ancestry.com has done a lot for that. And I think it is good to explore our past and connect with those ghosts, if you will, to know where you came from and cherish it, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, it is time for our top of the hour break, guys. But when we come back, we're going to have more with Corvis Nocturnum and Kevin Eads. We're going to be talking more about Krampus, and maybe I'll figure out a way to get myself spanked on Wednesday. So stay tuned. You're listening to Hidden World Paranormal Radio on the L&M Radio Network. We will be right back. Welcome back to Hidden World Paranormal Talk Radio here on the L&M Radio Network. I'm your host, Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun, as always, is the fabulous Chris Carr.
Hey.
And we have got a couple of great guests on the line. We're talking about all kinds of things that don't involve ho, 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 but in a way they kind of do. We have got Mr. Corvis Nocturnum and Mr. Kevin Eads on the line. We're talking about their new book, Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus. And guys, is the book officially out?
No, it is not. We're finishing it off in probably the next week and then sending it to print. So unfortunately, we're going to miss the Krampus Night original debut, but that's because Kevin and I have both been working on multiple other books this year, and it kind of got backlogged a little bit. But we do hope to have copies autographed and shipped out to people at least by Christmas. If printing isn't delayed, because this is the book buying time of year for people that are holed up against the snow and everything.
That's very true.
Right. And you guys are busy. I visited your company, Dark Moon Press, and noticed when I was putting together that ad, which is a little goofy, which are used as kind of the intro for this show tonight, because we have a sense of humor, that you have a lot of books, and I'm a fan, and I did not even realize you had as many books as you do. You have a lot of stuff out there. So, Dark Moon Press, great place to visit. All kinds of information out there.
Now, people can pre-order the Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus book from Dark Moon Press, and as soon as the orders get processed, I will take all the copies that come in from printing and sign them, and then send them to Kevin, and he'll be given the addresses to forward them off to the buyers. So anybody who does order between now and January 1st will get an autographed copy by both of us.
I want one. I mean,
I do
what
too.
better perfect, Christmas Krampus gift can you give than that?
Now I want a copy too, so I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to order one.
Yeah, we put an awful lot into it on specifics of not only Krampus and, like Kevin said, old postcards, the naughty sort of erotica images. There's poetry that Kevin found or created that goes in between certain other subjects.
Created, yes.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of fiction of his own that he throws in just to kind of elaborate and explain, how these stories are interpreted, but, the first, I'd say, a third of the book is purely on Krampus, and then we kind of shift gears and we talk about other subjects and characters that are related to non-traditional Yule characters, like the Yule lads, Jack Frost himself. There's other creatures that we found that were fascinating from other cultures around Bulgaria, Greece, Bosnia, Turkey. A lot of them predominantly through the Scandinavian countries. And like Kevin said, there's another one from Belgium and France. I can't pronounce it. Kevin might be able to. He was, in translation, the Punisher of naughty children was called Father Whipper during the Feast of St. Nicholas. He would go around giving lumps of coal to the disobedient children, and he would beat them just like Krampus did.
If you guys watched the last season of The Office, there's another Bearschnickel. I don't know if you remember that or not, where Dwight got to have his own version of Christmas, a Pennsylvania Dutch Christmas, where he brought Bearschnickel to the office. And if you were, they handed out a bowl, and if you were good, it was another term I just forget off the top of my head. But basically, if you were good, you'd get a gift, and if you were bad, he would hit you with his switch. And it was funny because it was in the last season, and he's always mad at Jim, so he got mad at Jim about something and started beating him down. But I think that was the first experience a lot of people ever had with Bearschnickel, and he's a real character. It wasn't made up for the TV show for Dwight.
Do you think there's a tie-in to the BDSM community and Krampus?
What's that?
Is there a tie-in between the BDSM community and Krampus?
No, I don't think so, other than for giggles, modern speaking. But it's
somehow I picture leather and sticks here. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something, but my mind's gone a little awry.
There's things like the naughty dark elves that are certainly not the workers in Santa's workshop. We have a brief mention of Christmas werewolves in the book. That was, kind of odd to me, but it was a reference from a 15th century Swedish traveler. We kind of went all out in trying to find things that very few people, unless they're scholars or fans of old pagan mythology, especially around, winter solstice time period. And try to, even though it's a relatively short book, we're probably going to be looking at 100 and some pages by the time we're done, but we're going to lower the price to match, so the price on the website actually should be $10. So if anybody orders it right now and gets, for $20, we'll get 2 copies to them so they can gift one to somebody else.
That's awesome. I know I want one. Where do they go, Eric?
It's darkmoonpress.com, and the book is called Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus. If you type it into the search bar on the website, it should pop up.
I'm actually ordering a copy right now as we speak.
Okay, so we'll be sure and
on that too.
We'll
This
be
is
sure and
awesome.
get you 2
I want one
copies.
as well.
That way you can keep one and gift one to somebody.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just clicked the proceed to PayPal button, so I am ordering it right now.
Well, thank you both. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
I can't pronounce half of these words, but there's a reference to something called the Yule cat. I can't pronounce it because it's Icelandic. But it was a monster, huge, vicious cat that lurked in the snowy countryside, and it would eat people that haven't received any new clothes before Christmas Eve. And it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. It just shows you how warped our minds are.
Well, sure.
But Kevin knows quite a bit about Black Peter from the Netherlands, I believe. There's there's been a lot of controversy. I mean, the UN was making an outcry about it last year, saying that it's racist because the person had black skin because the name is Black Pete. It's portrayed in a very old vaudevillian stereotype, which I understand why they're calling it, a throwback to racism from, days gone by. But I think people need to realize that these characters, when they were created, were portrayed that way on purpose because of the background of where it came from, not so much that it was from a racist people. I think people are too sensitive and they want to point fingers at, things that aren't even relevant to what they feel the issues are.
Well, there's a lot of history there with the Icelandic people, right? With like, say, sigil work and, magic in general.
Right.
I think, they had pretty open minds. They were into some stuff that maybe the rest of the world was not necessarily into.
Yeah, I mean, you have all these Scandinavian countries that even border, the Netherlands and Ireland and things like that. And, you have these wicked fairies, squat, misshapen creatures that Brian Froud would be proud of, that were kidnapping human children and, leave items or their little creatures in lieu of their place. There's so many different ancient cultures, creatures, and traditions that we touch upon just to try to educate people that there's a lot more out there than they might think. For the most part, most people don't even know anything beyond, Father Christmas. And they know a little bit about Krampus, possibly from the movie that came out and hit theaters a couple years ago, or some of the other pop culture references or TV shows that Kevin mentioned earlier, but they have no clue what some of these others are, and some of them fascinated and shocked me when I ran across them. I mean, there's not a ton of information unless you're a deep scholar, and we don't try to go so overboard where we bore you to death on, the etymology of every single word and things like that. There's short entries just to keep it kind of a little faster paced and move on to the next topic.
I think it's interesting that the way they used fear, right, to correct, say, a child that was acting out, but yet put their own pleasure within.
Yeah, I do think that was common.
The way you guys have told it tonight was, something I hadn't heard. You just hear about the feasting on the children and the bad kids. Krampus is coming. You've been bad.
Mm-hmm.
But for a parental viewpoint, to say, all right, maybe this is really just a little time away with mom.
I do believe that has something to do with it. If you really stop and think about the culture and the physical conditions, I mean, stop and think about the situations they dealt with. They didn't have anything modern. Electricity wasn't around. They had torches.
They were isolated.
Yeah, they were isolated out in the wilderness in small villages. Everything about their lives was a fight to survive. So when children would misbehave and not listen, it could mean their death if they disobeyed parents. So I think they had to come up with these horrible boogeymen, furry creatures, or trolls, or goblins, or whatever in the woods, to make sure that children listen to mom and dad, because it was the only way that in the long run there would be a survival of the species.
Yeah, morality tale for a reason.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's what the moral of the stories behind all of the Grimm's fairy tales comes from, that very same thing. They've been toned down to the point where we think, oh, Hansel and Gretel, that was a little scary because kids in the oven. But, even Cinderella, they're talking about how the ravens came down and pecked out the eyes of the sisters that were evil in the end, and, how to make their feet fit the glass slipper, in the old story, they actually took a knife and tried to slice their ankle, to make it fit. And these cautionary tales of doing the right thing for morality's sake, like Kevin said, it came for a reason. It was a survival of the people.
Yeah, I find that all fascinating, and I'm still just sitting here kind of going, wow.
I know it's some spooky, weird stuff, but that's what Kevin and I are known for.
Well, yeah, and that's what what Chris and I are totally into, and so I'm sitting here, I'm like, I want the book, but I just ordered it, so I don't have it yet. So I want the first copy, Eric. I want the first copy.
Not a problem. I will print the order off tonight and put it on the top of the stack, because there are a few pre-orders from our fans out there, but we'll make sure that
I have a fan. What?
You do now, Kevin.
You got two right here.
Yeah. So I'll make sure you get 2 copies for your order. And, we'll make sure they both get autographed for you.
See, Kevin, I told you were going to need a seatbelt, because see, now you have a fan.
There we go. Oh, I have a few out there, but I like to joke. I was always taught, I guess I have a self-depreciating sense of humor, which, a Midwestern thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, is Dark Moon Press, is that the only place where the book is going to be available, or will people be able to find it on like Amazon and Barnes and Noble and stuff like that?
It will be available on Amazon fairly soon. I would say within the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And BarnesandNoble.com does carry a good share of our books, and Walmart.com does too. They started. The physical stores don't so much, because small press, it has to fight tooth and nail for shelf space compared to the big 5 traditional publishers. Sure. However, I'm really pleased at the fact that we've grown to the point where we have enough of a fan base where people can go into Barnes & Noble and say, hey, I saw this on your website. Can you bring it into the shop, and order it? And they will. So that makes me proud of how far we've come. Like you guys said earlier in the hour, Dark Moon Press has grown up to over 60 authors and 300 titles of different genres, everything from fiction to herbalism, self-help, but we still haven't given up on our occultism and dark horror. And you could say that even this Krampus book with Kevin and I is kind of calling back to those origins of Dark Moon Press, of the dark, spooky, sinister, feel. Because as much as we dabble in some other things here and there, we never have given up our love of the macabre. That's for sure.
Yeah, we all have to keep reading. So that's fantastic. Are you still doing artwork?
Oh, yeah. I'm finishing a couple commission pieces this week for some fans. They wanted me to do some portrait painting because it's holiday gift time. And I usually get pretty swamped with painting requests from my fans out there on social media. If people want to check out my Facebook page under photos, I've got some that I put up, works in progress from somebody bought Pennywise, from the movie It that I did recently. You know, I was really proud of that when I put a lot of time and effort into it. Yeah, but
Fantastic.
yeah, if people want to browse my art on my Facebook page or my Instagram, there's images out there. If people want to contact me, there's still time to get some artwork before Christmas rush.
Great, great. Do you have any Krampus paintings hanging out there?
I don't have any brand new, but I did do a bunch that I have available as prints.
Nice.
Yeah, because he did the cover for one of my Krampus books, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
How many Krampus books do you have, Kevin?
The fiction, a third one will be out this year. 3 of those. As far as fiction books in general, I probably got close to 30, including great ones like. No. Just horror in general. Fountain of Blood, for instance. Fountain of Blood is my favorite. It takes all the classic characters like Dracula, Frankenstein, Monster, the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, putting them in modern day settings and such, or True Legends, which we take vampire legends and put them in modern times. Dark Asylum, where we take the creepy places and write stories around them. So I just like to. I'm very inspired by like the classic Universal horror, Hammer horror, Amicus horror, things like that. Is what inspires a lot of my fiction writing.
Where is Hammer these days? I know not too long ago I saw a movie, and I forget the title of it, but it was a Hammer film, and I was like, oh my God, it's a Hammer film. I remembered from...
Yeah, they were based out of London. They're still around, actually. They did recently, like, The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe, and they did...
Maybe it was
Christopher Lee actually made an appearance in a recent The Resident. So, yeah, they've got great stuff, and again, very inspiring. And it's, I that's where I go to for my inspiration.
Very cool.
When I write, general horror, because I mean they did it the best. I feel like the best horror was really done between the 30s and the 60s. So.
And all that stuff was replayed when we were growing up, and that's kind of the thing. It's like what you grow up with becomes your favorite and becomes the best. I still listen to the music I listened to in high school, and like, how dated is that at this point? It's almost ridiculous.
Right.
I have no feel for new music at all. I'm like, screw that. It's terrible.
Neither do I.
I don't, I turn back to my old, I'm going to dare say records. So, but new genres come up and new generations come up and things change, but that's good. And that's
but
really
a lot
cool.
of them. Yeah, a lot of them today it's been slashers, and it's been more the thing. Slasher movies have been really since the 80s, and I have nothing against slasher movies. I've written plenty of slasher stories myself, but I'm still more inspired by the monsters, the classic horror monsters. That's why Krampus fits in so well. He's a monster, and those are the stories that I find the most inspiring.
Right, sure.
Because human beings, we can be monsters ourselves, and it can just be, another side, the Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. So,
right on.
Outstanding. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into some more of these books though, because I as a writer myself, I have fiction and nonfiction on the market, and Chris and I were working on another nonfiction book together, and everything, but there's, from an author's perspective, there's nothing quite like reaching, back into the way back, the dark, creepy places of your brain, and pulling those threads, kind of seeing what's going to unravel as you're putting it on the page. And, as an author, that's one of my favorite things about writing that dark fiction.
Right. Well, we certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, and as I always tell people, if they want to start, people who haven't read any of my books before, I always tell them to start with Fountain of Blood. And I think Eric will tell you the same. It's a great starting point to see my horror writing and my style and what I like to write about.
Yeah, some of my favorites are Fountain of Blood, The Dark Asylum by
True Legends.
One of my favorites. True Legends, depending on what particular slant you're looking for, he's done a pretty wide range over, I think, anywhere from the neighborhood of 24 to 30 books. 24 at least have been horror fiction, and then some of the nonfiction paranormal travel guides that we came up with together.
I think it's so cool that you guys are both so creative. I mean, I think creativity is the thing that keeps me myself grounded. And I think Clarissa as well. You know, we need to write. We need to do things, even if it's the goofy intro that I put on the show tonight. You know, and we had a few chuckles about, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, that's how we met. You know, and I think that's what brought us together. I mean, we met at college I was teaching at, and I think that's what brought us together. We both had that interest. You know, you birds of a feather, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But, well, it is almost time for our final break of the evening. And when we come back from that break, you know, we'll give you guys, you know, just a few more minutes to wrap up and tell people again, you know, where they can find your books, you know, not just Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus, but all of your books, you know, because Kevin, I know, gosh, you've published with several different companies and Corvis, you know, most of your stuff's on Dark Moon, I think.
Either Dark Moon Press or Amazon.com, yeah.
Yeah. So when we come back from break, we'll give you guys some wrap up time. But for now, we're going to take our final break of the evening. So stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Hidden World Paranormal Talk Radio on the LNM Radio Network. We will be right back. Welcome back to Hidden World Paranormal Talk Radio here on the LNM Radio Network. I'm your host, Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun, as always, is my faithful sidekick, Mr. Chris Carr.
Hey.
And we've been...
I didn't know Rerun was there.
Right? That's where I get that from. See, we're always dating ourselves.
We're always dating
I don't know
ourselves.
what it is.
Yes.
You know, I cannot not step into the trap of sounding very old.
We have no listeners under 30.
I'm almost
Rerun.
50, so
There you go.
can't complain.
Yeah. What are you guys talking about? Yeah, okay.
But we've got a couple of great guests on the line, folks. We've been kind of we've been walking the tightrope between the clean and dirty, but we've been talking about Krampus, and we've been talking with Mr. Corvis Nocturnum and Mr. Kevin Eads about their new book, Have Yourself a Merry Little Krampus, which is available for pre-order right now. If you go to darkmoonpress.com, and trust me, because I did it during the show. I ordered a copy actually, I ordered 2 copies, I guess, during the show. You can pre-order your copy, and they will have it out to you by Christmas. They won't have it out by, you know, Krampus night, but they'll have it to you by Christmas. And I encourage you guys, go and check it out. If you've got an interest in the macabre, in the strange, the unusual, even if you're just into folklore, you know, check it out. You know, see what
Krampus
it's all about.
is really interesting. I mean, there's more to it than, you know, what you might, you know, glimpse quickly in the media. There's a lot going on. I love the history to this. This is awesome. You know, I've learned a lot tonight.
Well, and Chris, you know that I majored in history in college, but Krampus was not in my scholastic studies. So I'm
not make the curriculum.
No, it didn't make the curriculum.
But now's your chance. You know?
I know.
If
Right?
people are interested in, you know, pagan mythology, we have quite a bit on elves and fairies and Odin hanging from, you know, the you know, talking about the Yule tree and, you know, other, like the subtitle says, non-traditional Yule situation. So it really goes into things that are forgotten about.
As I understand
Folklore
it,
is fascinating.
actual Irish are scared of fairies. Is that true?
Yeah,
Fairies are
yeah,
a different thing?
they're kind of, you know, the naughty little imps that they're not so sweet as we've come to expect them in, you know, more modern tales. You know, just like the thing about the Grimm's fairy tales that I was talking about earlier. And Brian Froud, who did a lot of the concept art for Labyrinth, was actually his original renderings and knowledge on fairy tales shows that he really got it. You know, he knew the dark and twistedness of Scandinavian, Irish, and the Netherland regions of what these critters actually were bizarre and evil.
Yeah, and I don't know. You kind of made a generalization there, Chris. I think that's a little bit of profiling when you said the Irish are afraid of fairies. I am not.
I'm over half Irish, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe I am overgeneralizing, but
That's
yeah, I
profiling.
have heard that fairies in Ireland are considered kind of more of a darker evil thing than they are here, where we make statues of them and that kind of stuff and put them in our gardens. You may not want to see a fairy in
the
your
little
garden
note.
in Ireland.
And I think it's also a matter of perspective and bias that we consider anything dark and twisted as evil. I mean, if not for evil human beings, Krampus wouldn't beat the children, would he?
Those kids were bad. Little Charlie.
Yes, little Charlie, as
Get
you
in the
sang
sack,
about in
little
the intro. Yeah, get in the sack, little Charlie. So, guys, we've only got a couple of minutes left with you, but we want to give you the opportunity to tell our listeners one more time, where they can find your books, where they can learn more about you guys yourselves. So I guess we'll start with Corvis, and then we'll move on to Kevin. So, Corvis, where can people find you? Where can they find your books? The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I'm on Instagram and Facebook under Corvis Nocturnum. That's CorvisNocturnum. I'm also found under Eric Vernor. That's V as in Victor, ERNOR, like the ginger ale company. Because I write under ER Vernor as well on a lot of my books, especially in the last couple of years. I've shifted over to that a lot. And darkmoonpress.com, Amazon, BNN.com, I should say. That's where people can find most of my work, but I'd say Dark Moon Press, go there first, because that's the best way to reach out to me through my Facebook and say, hey, autograph this for me, because I run Dark Moon. But if you're more comfortable getting all your miscellaneous stuff at Amazon while you're ordering other items, we have no problem with you buying our books off Amazon too.
Yeah, and I know from a royalties perspective, as an author, it's always more beneficial to the author to buy direct from the publisher. But
And,
yeah.
they can get a hold of us on social media and say, hey, I bought this book, can you sign it for me? And we'd be happy to ship it back to you.
Outstanding.
Right
and
on. I like the personal touch you get there with the Dark Moon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And Mr. Kevin, where can people find out more about you?
Again, you can order my books at the same places, or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram as well, under Kevin Eads. Just look me up. I also just have a regular author page on Facebook, Kevin Eads Author. So you can find me in any of the places, and I'm always happy to hear from you.
Outstanding. Awesome. Well, guys, we want to thank you so much for being such great guests on the show. We wish you nothing but the best of luck and the utmost success with this book and all of your books, from one author to another. I wish you the best of luck, and we're gonna have to have you back. I know, Corvis, this is the second time we've had you on the show, and we're just when you've got a good thing, you just want to keep bringing it back. So we may have to have you guys back again.
Thank you. Well, Kevin and I are not done collaborating. We've got a couple in the works for next year.
Ooh,
very cool.
See, there's the carrot.
We're on it.
There's the carrot. We are on it. So, guys, thank you again, and again, best of luck and happy holidays to you both,
thank you
and yours.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
And we'll definitely
enjoy
be
your
in
Krampus
touch.
Knock.
Yes.
Enjoy
Happy Krampus
Knock, December 5th, 2018.
Hopefully, I get spanked.
Yes.
So
get your monster on.
That's right.
Have some fun out there.
So thanks again, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. All right, good night.
Thank you.
Corvis Nocturnum and Kevin Eads, ladies and gentlemen. I always enjoy having like-minded people on the show, Chris. And I know you've been, every time we have Corvis on the show, you fangirl. And I was so proud of you tonight.
Right? I know, I do.
You actually gave
like
him a
Corvis.
chance to talk tonight.
I actually shut up tonight and let Corvis talk. I see you're still on Skype, Eric.
Oh yeah, he's still connected.
And I did kind of blow it the last time. I went a little off, but
That's
I do.
okay.
I have my things. I have my interests, so it's just me.
Yeah, no, and that's no joke. I did order while we were on the air tonight, so I'm excited. I am so excited.
I'm excited too.
It's not often, that we
I
have.
know you're probably sending me one of those. So.
Maybe.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that it'll arrive in time to go in your Christmas box, but because your Christmas box I think is going out this week. But
Got a Christmas box.
Yeah, you knew you've got a Christmas
Eric,
box.
do you get
coming.
a Christmas box?
Nope.
He says
He's
no.
shaking his head no.
Hey guys.
Bye guys. Bye Eric. No, you knew you were getting a Christmas box this year. And I've also got your housewarming
That
present.
sounds sexy, like a Christmas box.
Well.
Ew. What am I getting?
Wait till you see what's in it.
Is it made of latex? Silicone? I think silicone is more the preferred material.
No, your housewarming present is still sitting on my desk also. In fact,
I'm loving my house.
I have your housewarming present ready to go. I just hadn't shipped it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Bubba ate the package.
Bubba is Clarissa's cat, if you don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
And Bubba is very loud. Bubba is not in your room right now. I know this because
because
Bubba,
I'm house sitting. Bubba's at home.
That's right. Because Bubba would be like, meow, meow. You hear Bubba like 2 rooms away.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, so when your housewarming package arrives, you're going to see like tooth marks all over the packaging.
That's Bubba?
Yeah, Bubba helped wrap it.
Cool.
I just haven't shipped it yet. I wanted to make sure your birthday card got there safely before I went and sent the housewarming gift. So
yeah. Very cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And since I know that the birthday card arrived, I know it's safe to, send off the other stuff now. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So do we have a guest next week?
I kind of don't think we do unless I book one real quick.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've been waiting. I wanted to get through this show and put it out there and maybe bring on a few others. But we also have good shows when we don't have guests. So
I know
it's kind of a delicate balance, I guess. It's awesome to reach new people with our guests and having someone like Corvis on helps us do that for sure. Yeah. But we also have our own gig, so. I guess in time it'll all kind of work out. That's my thinking. I don't know.
Yeah. So, and things got kind of quiet. Jax hasn't been messaging us left and right. I hope he didn't fall asleep. Jax is usually pretty good about listening to the show and contributing here and there, but he got kind of quiet. So I'm wondering if he didn't fall asleep.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't either.
But you guys are on tomorrow night at what? 9 o'clock?
Yes, tomorrow
ding,
night.
Ding, ding.
9. Yeah. Drink.
All right.
You're the one that started that. You're the one that started that promotion. No, tomorrow night on Periscope Uncensored.
On the libations.
Yes. Tomorrow night on Periscope Uncensored, 9 p.m. Eastern in Studio B here on lnmradionetwork.com. We're going to have Ben Robison and his beard on the show, and we're going to be talking about the CERM hypothesis.
The STERM?
No, CERM. S-E-R-M.
Oh, I think we did discuss this, and it's almost like another word.
I see tadpoles.
Katie sees tadpoles.
Exactly.
No,
what is up with that?
The CERM hypothesis, if you give me just a second.
Are you looking for the P?
No, I'm not looking for the P. It's not the sperm hypothesis.
I
It is-
still see tadpoles.
The CERM hypothesis, it's spectral emotion to radio frequency manifestation.
Okay.
And I know I sent you and Jax both the link last week because I knew you were going to want to read up on it too. I sent you guys the link so you could read up on the CERM hypothesis prior to tomorrow night's show. But we're going to have Ben Robison on, and he's going to be telling us
And his beard.
all about it. And his beard.
And
Ben's
what is the deal with the beard? Like, what is
Ben's
that about?
beard
I don't know
is
Ben.
an entity in and of itself.
Is he like a Red Sox player or
No.
Santa Claus or Krampus?
No.
What's the deal with the beard?
No. Ben is from the West Coast, Vancouver area, Washington. And
Where they have beards?
well, Ben does. and
You seem fond of this beard.
well, Ben and I go way back to radio days on another network.
I'm
And
having a couple of giggles here.
yeah, I know you are. And so going back to this other network, it became a joke on the network, that Ben's beard has its own personality. It is its own entity. And yeah. And it's
Cool.
it's stuck. And so so we're gonna have Ben and the beard.
So you literally have two guests tomorrow.
Yes, Ben Robison and his beard.
Cool. Awesome.
So, and folks, if you want to find out more about Ben and his beard or the CERM hypothesis, tune in tomorrow night to Periscope Uncensored, 9 p.m. Eastern on lnmradionetwork.com in Studio B for best.
Bestest.
That's right, because we are the best.
We rock.
We rock. We totally rock. And but see, this whole Krampusnacht thing has me thrown for a loop because now I got to try to figure out how I'm going to get spanked on Wednesday.
Well, you need a stick, and you need somebody to beat you with that stick.
I can find a stick.
Well, all right. A is done.
Yeah, and I think I've been plenty naughty.
If you can't find somebody to beat with said stick, you can just run backwards in the forest.
I could.
You could. It may not be as fun.
Yeah, I don't think that would
hurt
be as
yourself.
fun. Yeah.
Especially if your pants are your ankles or something, and you're shuffling backwards through brush. Or I don't know.
And with the snow on the ground.
Snow. Yeah, you have snow.
Yeah,
What is the temperature now in Denver?
In Denver, I have no idea what the temperature is in Denver.
Well, it's all Colorado to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but here in Cattle Creek, where I'm at right now.
Cattle Creek. See, that town's named Cattle Creek. You expect me to remember Cattle Creek? I'm sorry. You're in Cattle Creek today?
Yeah, I'm in Cattle Creek today. Remember, I'm house sitting. I'm not in Rifle right now. I'm in
Rifle.
Cattle Creek.
Why do you have these common object town names?
Well, because
I'm in Doorknob. I'm sorry.
We don't have funky Indian or Native American names,
No, apparently not. No,
Rehoboth and
whatever was on the table at that moment and made it a town name.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
See, I live in Rifle, but right now I'm in Cattle
It's near
Creek.
Anvil, right?
No. Although we do have Anvil Point, which is a mountain nearby.
Yeah, I knew.
You knew.
There's some tie-in somewhere with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But to answer your question, it's 29 here.
Wow. All right, a little warmer here. I think it's in 40 or 41.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 29 here, and it's clear and cold. You know how when you've got that layer of snow on the ground and there are no clouds in the sky, and it's just that bitter, bitter cold.
Mm-hmm. I do.
That's what we got going on right now.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. And what sucks the most is because I'm house sitting, I can't smoke inside. I have to go outside to my car.
You need a Juul. I've been telling you about these. I'm showing it to you in the Skype
Yeah, I
there.
see that. You're showing me on the Skype camera, but,
Yeah.
But I don't have
Who
one
knows?
of those.
Maybe it'll find its way into your Christmas box.
Ooh. Oh, are you saying that
with a holly on the outside?
I have a Christmas box too?
I guess you do.
Ooh.
Santa told me you do.
Santa told you. Was I good enough
and a
for
couple
Santa
of the
this
elves
year?
too. They were talking about it. But,
Oh boy. Was I good enough for Santa this year? I thought I was only naughty
I don't know.
enough
They
for
were just talking about your box. They weren't even looking at lists.
Yeah, they weren't even looking at lists. They were just looking at. Okay.
Like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Milk and cookies all the way.
Yes. Oh, really? Oh dear. I may have to leave an extra treat out for
good
Santa.
golly.
Jiminy Christmas. So we've only got about a minute left. Any big plans for tomorrow? Besides listing comparison?
No, actually, I have like zero plans for tomorrow, except my son starts school, and that's cool, and I go back to work.
Okay.
In a new place, and life is great. I love it. I move.
Birthday
I'm happy.
festivities?
Yeah. Every day is a holiday for me. I like to look at life that way a little bit.
Should be, as well as it should.
Yeah, yes, it should be. True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, folks, we have reached the end of our show tonight, but be sure to tune in next week. We don't know if we're going to have a guest, but you can always find out. If we do land a guest, you can always find out by going to facebook.com/CCCV books. And be sure to tune in to Periscope Uncensored tomorrow night, where Jackson and I will be talking to Ben Robinson.
Ben Robinson and his beard.
And his beard. We'll be talking about the CERM hypothesis. So for Daryl, Katie, Chris, Jax, the L&M family of hosts, and myself, have a fantastic evening, everyone. And may all of your ghosts be